often do you use doors?
A lot.
Doors are one of the most touched things on campus, and especially with COVID happening right now, they can be one of the dirtiest things. Introducing our product, the foot handle, aka the photo. Our product will make it so where you can open doors and be less dirty, and it's more convenient when you're carrying stuff, and it's just easier to use overall. Now we're going to talk about some of our key observations we made during our experiment.
But before we get into those, let's cover the basics of how we ran our flip norm experiment. So we ran 4 trials with each of our test subjects, and the only information we told them was that the door could be unlocked by pushing on it. No need to turn the handle. Then we asked them to open the door. Our 4 trials included opening the door in normal circumstances, opening the dirty door, which in our case we used duct tape to simulate it being dirty, then opening the door while holding something large, in our case a box, and finally opening the dirty door while holding something large. We honestly expected a lot more people to use the footl, but we think part of the confusion was with our door handle. Ideally, we wish we could have one of these. However, we couldn't find anyone who would allow us to modify their push latch door. So now, on with the experiment.
Howdy, now we're going to talk about our observations here, some of our key observations. And to start off, we have intuitiveness. So one of the big things we noticed was that sometimes the subjects didn't know what the duct tape meant. And our duct tape was supposed to simulate germs and bacteria. So sometimes they were a little confused about that since it wasn't labeled. And the second takeaway from this was sometimes they were confused about the door lock. Since our thing was made out of cardboard, sometimes they weren't sure if it would actually open the door correctly. So now moving on to awareness, Shion's going to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so kind of what Brandon was mentioning with the duct tape. Some subjects were immediately repulsed by the dirty door, or the quote unquote the duct tape itself. And we could see that some subjects completely disregarded the footl itself. And we saw the majority of them actually did not use the footl. And Grant's now going to talk about the door approach.
So one of the things we noticed when witnessing the approach to the doors, a lot of times they would just use like the side of their body or other techniques to open the door instead of actually using like the door handle. So whenever we thought the footl would be most useful, which was when they were carrying something or when they didn't want to touch the door handle, they would usually just use a different part of their body to open it anyways. So we thought this was really interesting, and it was something we really didn't consider before doing the footl experiment.
Yeah, and then sort of another observation that we connected between several of them is that oftentimes the foot handle was not really in sight when you approach the door. So this sort of led to a lot of people not really, I guess, making use of it because they weren't aware it was there. And this sort of ties together with some people were actually kicking below the foot handle. That's just sort of like a height preference thing, depending on where they prefer to kick the door. And then lastly, what we also noticed was that a lot of people found the foot handle to be somewhat useful, especially in like specific situations. So like one thing that was brought up is during move-in day, it's actually extremely useful to have the foot handle, just because when you're carrying, a lot of packages or whatever to your new room, your arms are very occupied. So then when you have the foot handle, you're able to just sort of open the door without setting everything down. And yeah, that covers all of the sort of key insights we made from the observations. Thank you.